over the course of a 12-week fat loss phase, you could be looking at as much as 7 to 8 pounds of extra fat loss just by incorporating this one simple thing into your day, assuming you do it properly using the tips that I'm going to give you here in a second. What's up guys, Sean Nalawani, RealScienceAthletics.com, and in this video today we're going to be going over one simple but highly effective and quite honestly very easy daily habit to help you lose fat and lean down more efficiently. And this is not some silly workout gimmick or diet hack or magical fat loss supplement based on a top secret biological loophole discovered by Harvard scientists. You guys know that we don't do any of that BS here, okay? This is a real, legitimate strategy, and it was actually one of the key things I really made sure to focus on during my last fat loss phase, and it definitely had a big impact on my results. So what am I talking about here? The answer is walking. Now don't click away just yet. I know that's not the most exciting thing in the world, but this really is a serious topic and it's something that can definitely make a significant difference to your fat burning progress if you implement it in the way that I'll be explaining here. So keep watching and I'll cover the 4 key benefits of using walking for fat loss. I'll also give you a few strategies that you can use to implement more walking into your day to make it as simple and as effortless as possible. And to be fair, I'll also mention a couple of potential warnings you could say. So just little potential downsides to watch out for and what to do about them. So the first benefit of using walking as a primary fat loss tool is that it allows you to burn a significant number of calories while putting minimal stress on your body as a whole. Regular traditional cardio sessions are of course fine to do, and I encourage you to incorporate at least some of that into your week, but there's only so much running or stair stepping or rowing or intervals you can do before it starts to potentially backfire. Higher volumes of cardio are going to create more overall systemic stress, more muscle damage, more joint stress, and at a certain point that can start negatively impacting your recovery after weight training workouts and even impair your performance on upcoming workouts. Whereas with walking, you're not really gonna get any of that. It's just very easy on your body, and if anything, it can actually improve your recovery and even improve your joint health as well. The second benefit of walking is that because it's just a very gentle activity to perform, it also doesn't produce the same level of psychological fatigue compared to more intense forms of exercise. So you can go for a walk and get that calorie expenditure that you're after without feeling mentally exhausted afterwards in a way that could then negatively carry over to other things that you need to do during the day, like work or school or social obligations or things like that. So walking allows you to burn calories without draining your willpower. The third benefit of walking is that it's a very sustainable activity. It's just very easy to stick to. And that's absolutely crucial because if you really don't like the type of exercise that you're doing, it's only going to be a matter of time before you burn out and quit. Now, some people do enjoy those more traditional forms of cardio, but a pretty decent percentage of people don't, and some people even flat out hate it. Whereas with walking, it's not something that you're going to need to psych yourself up for. You're not going to be sitting around dreading the fact that you have to go for a walk later in the day, and many find that once they get into the daily habit, walking is actually something they genuinely enjoy and that they look forward to.
Isa, walk.
And benefit number 4, and this is a huge one, which is that walking is not going to have the same appetite stimulating effect compared to more strenuous forms of cardio. You know, you can run on the treadmill and burn, say, 500 calories, but that's really not going to do you any good if it causes your hunger to spike up in the hours afterwards, and then you just go and replace those same 500 calories through your diet, or possibly even more than that, which is a really easy thing to do if you aren't careful. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not going to be hungry at all, okay? A calorie deficit will always stimulate your appetite to some degree, but it just won't be as dramatic when you're using walking as a primary calorie burning tool. And as a result, that's going to help you maintain an overall calorie deficit more easily. Now, there are a few things to watch out for here, which I'll explain in a minute. But the bottom line is that when it all comes down to it, fat loss is about maintaining a calorie deficit. You have to consistently expend more calories than you consume. Okay, it's calories in versus calories out. And what walking allows you to do is tip that calories out portion of the equation in your favor, but without the potential side effects that can come from doing higher volumes of more strenuous cardio. You know, you can practically walk as much as you want and get that extra calorie expenditure, but without running into issues with systemic stress, muscle damage, joint stress, or excessive appetite stimulation. Now that's all well and good, but you might be thinking that since walking is such a light activity, how many calories am I really gonna burn doing that? And yeah, per unit of time, it's obviously gonna be a lot less in comparison to, say, running or swimming or biking or something along those lines. However, when you extrapolate it over the course of an entire day, it really does add up a lot, especially if you're relatively sedentary right now outside of weight training. So how many calories does walking burn? Well, a lot of different factors come into play, but just as one basic example, if you took, say, a 180-pound male who burns around 50 calories per 1,000 steps at a moderate pace, and they increased their daily step count by 5,000, which is not a huge amount, pretty simple to do that in most cases, that's 250 extra calories burned per day, which translates to 1,750 calories per week, or roughly 7,500 calories per month. And since 1 pound of fat contains roughly 3,500 calories, that would equal out to just over 2 pounds of extra fat loss per month, which is not insignificant at all, especially when you add it up over the course of several months. And of course, there's nothing stopping you from adding more than 5,000 extra steps depending on your current situation. If it was even just a bit higher than that, then over the course of a 12-week fat loss phase, you could be looking at as much as 7 to 8 pounds of extra fat loss just by incorporating this one simple thing into your day, assuming you do it properly, using the tips that I'm going to give you here in a second. By the way, if you're finding this information helpful so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future content just like this, and also give the video a quick like as well. It really helps to support the channel so I can keep putting out this free content every week. But yeah, not only can you burn a significant number of calories just through walking alone, but the best part is that because this is something you're already doing to some extent throughout your day as is, all you really need to do is find ways to maximize it in order to get your total step count up into an effective range. I think for most people in most situations, around 8,000 steps per day would be the bare minimum to aim for if this is something that you want to take seriously. 10,000 steps would probably be more appropriate to use as your baseline, and then from there you can decide just how high you want to go, whether it's 12,000, 15,000, or possibly even more than that. You know, there's no real upper limit here. It just comes down to you as far as your own personal preferences and how many extra calories you're aiming to burn. Now, what are the best strategies to use to reach your targeted step count in the most efficient way? Well, first off, you can of course just go for regular scheduled walks, right? Simple as that. You could do shorter walks more often, maybe 10 to 15 minutes periodically throughout the day, maybe after meals, for example, or you could do longer walks in the 30 to 60 minute range, but just do it less often. And I personally enjoy doing structured walks like this. I find it mentally beneficial in terms of just helping me organize my thoughts, come up with new ideas. Some of my best business insights, or even just life insights in general, tend to come when I'm out walking. And another option, if you find walking to be a bit boring and you want to maximize its utility, then you can just throw on a podcast or listen to YouTube videos. That way you're being even more efficient by getting the benefits of the walking itself, plus learning new information at the same time. And that's something that's also a lot harder to do during more intense cardio sessions because your mind has to stay focused on the actual workout. Now, aside from structured walks outside or even on a treadmill, if you prefer that for some reason, maybe if it's too hot or too cold outside, but aside from that, you can also just take your existing daily schedule and find more ways to add steps into it. For example, if you normally drive to work or to the gym or wherever else, if it's a shorter ways away, then if it's feasible for you to walk there instead, that would be one very simple option. Or if you are driving, then there's also the standard advice of parking further away. Once you're inside, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. And these things might sound kind of silly and insignificant, but you really have to think in terms of extrapolating these small things over the day as a whole. So some other ideas, during work sessions, you can take periodic breaks to stand up and get some steps in. That's probably just good for your body in general anyway. You can walk while you brush your teeth or if you're on the phone. Another big one that I use a lot is to walk in between sets at the gym. So rather than just sitting there and scrolling on your phone or talking or doing nothing at all, just stand up and walk around. You know, over the course of say a 60 to 90 minute weight training session, if you make a concerted effort to get some steps in while you're not lifting, it really does add up quite a bit. You can also make walking a social activity. You know, if you're supposed to meet someone for a coffee, you could suggest getting your coffee to go and taking a walk instead. And this last one might sound a bit goofy, but you can also literally just walk around your house. I actually did this quite a bit during my last fat loss phase when I was really trying to maximize my step count, where it would get toward the end of the day and I hadn't hit my targeted number yet. So I just put on some YouTube videos and basically walk laps around the living room until I got there. And that brings me to another very important point, which is that if walking is something you really want to incorporate into your day and take seriously, you ideally do want to be tracking your steps. Because when you have a set target in place and you can physically see how many steps you've taken so far, are, it really holds you accountable and gives you a gauge to work with throughout the day. For example, if it's late afternoon and you've been a bit lazy and you can see that the step count is lower than normal, that's your reminder to step things up a bit so that you're not trying to cram everything in later on. Now, you could use the step counter on your phone, but it's not going to be perfectly accurate since you're probably not carrying your phone in your pocket every single place you go. And so I would recommend just buying a basic watch to track it for you. You don't need anything heavy duty here. I bought this one off of Amazon for like 20 bucks and it's been working for me just fine, but this definitely is a worthwhile investment and it can really make all the difference between consistently getting your walking in every day versus just gradually falling off track with it. And one final thing I should also mention is that as beneficial as walking can be and as much as I recommend it, this doesn't necessarily mean that you should use it as a complete replacement for all other forms of cardio. Now, you can technically do that if you want, but just keep in mind that like I already mentioned before, walking is going to be less efficient in terms of calories burned per unit of time. So if you do want to burn through a larger number of calories within a shorter window, then a standard, more intense cardio session is of course going to be more effective in that regard. In addition to that, keep in mind that walking is not going to give you the same cardiovascular conditioning benefits that more intense cardio will. If you really want to improve your conditioning in a significant way, you need to stress your cardiovascular system in order to create those adaptations. And walking on its own is not going to be enough for that. And neither will most traditional hypertrophy style weight training workouts either. So if you're looking to optimize your overall health and fitness in addition to building muscle and losing fat, then ideally you should still be getting in at least a couple of regular cardio sessions during the week that really get your breathing and your heart rate up. And to close this whole thing out, very, very important point. Okay, yes, walking has a wide variety of benefits, but always remember that fat loss still ultimately comes down to calories in versus calories out in the overall picture. So you can burn as many calories as you want through walking, but if your diet isn't on point, if you're just consuming too many calories and you're replacing everything that you burn from walking and you're not in a net calorie deficit when it all comes down to it, you're still not going to lose fat. So your diet should always be front and center in the fat burning process. It's the most important factor of all. If you're not properly managing your calorie intake, you're probably not going to get very far. So get your diet properly dialed in, get your weight training plan correctly mapped out, and then add walking into the mix to maximize things even further. But don't rely on it as a sole fat burning tool. And as far as training and nutrition is concerned, if you want to grab a free program that you can follow to combine with the walking strategies outlined in this video, then you can head over to seannall.com/custom. Just fill out the short form there, and I'll send you back a structured step-by-step routine that you can apply based on your current physique, your experience level, and your ultimate goals. The link for that is up here, as well as down below in the description box. On the supplementation side of things, if you're looking for premium quality, no BS formulas to further improve your body composition, training performance, and overall health, make sure to visit realscienceathletics.com. This was all formulated by me using research-backed, clinically dosed ingredients only, and you can use the code YouTube15 to save 15% off your first order. Here are 2 more videos I'd recommend watching now. You can follow me over on Instagram for more daily tips and information. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next, and I will talk to you again soon.